Ricky Gervais, the sharp-tongued British comedian and cultural commentator, has never been one to mince his words. Known for his no-holds-barred approach to comedy and criticism, Gervais recently turned his formidable wit on UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, delivering a blistering critique that captured widespread attention. His scathing commentary, delivered with his characteristic mix of humor and unapologetic candor, took aim at Starmer's tenure in office, igniting a firestorm of discussion about the state of UK politics and leadership. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Starmer, who came into office with promises of restoring stability and integrity to the Labour Party, has faced a challenging political landscape. As Gervais dissected Starmer's record, he highlighted the perceived dissonance between the Prime Minister's rhetoric and the results of his policies. Gervais's takedown wasn't merely a comedic jab. It was an incisive commentary on the frustrations of a public that feels disconnected from its leaders. His criticisms were not isolated to Starmer's leadership style, but extended to the broader impact, or lack thereof, of his government's initiatives. From economic stagnation to muddled communication on social issues, Gervais systematically unraveled the layers of Starmer's premiership, striking a chord with audiences who may have been grappling with similar disillusionment. One of Gervais's most pointed critiques centered on what he portrayed as Starmer's inability to articulate a compelling vision for the future. In a political climate defined by rapid change and uncertainty, a leader's ability to project clarity and inspire confidence is crucial. Gervais argued that Starmer's careful, measured approach often translated into a lack of boldness, leaving many to question whether he was capable of steering the nation through turbulent times. This lack of decisiveness, Gervais suggested, had left Starmer vulnerable to criticism not only from opposition parties, but also from within his own ranks. For a comedian to zero in on such a specific aspect of political leadership underscores the widespread nature of this perception, one that has undoubtedly weighed heavily on Starmer's approval ratings. The heart of Gervais's critique also touched on Starmer's handling of social and cultural issues, which have become increasingly divisive in recent years. Gervais, who has frequently lampooned political correctness and ideological rigidity, accused Starmer of attempting to appease too many factions simultaneously. This balancing act, Gervais claimed, often left Starmer appearing indecisive or overly cautious. Whether it was the Prime Minister's response to calls for police reform, debates around free speech, or his stance on controversial public health measures, Gervais painted a picture of a leader trying to straddle an unworkable middle ground. The critique resonated with many who have criticized Starmer for what they perceive as an over-reliance on focus groups and polling data at the expense of principled leadership. Another key element of Gervais's broadside was his focus on Starmer's economic record. In recent years, the UK has faced mounting challenges, from spiraling inflation and a cost-of-living crisis to labor strikes across key sectors. Gervais zeroed in on these issues, questioning whether Starmer's government had done enough to address the struggles of ordinary citizens. The comedian's barbed humor drew attention to what he characterized as a failure to implement meaningful reforms, contrasting Starmer's lofty campaign promises with the realities faced by everyday Britons. Gervais's pointed humor served as a reminder that economic policies are not merely theoretical constructs, but have tangible consequences for millions of people. Beyond policy specifics, Gervais criticized what he saw as Starmer's lack of authenticity. A significant part of the comedian's takedown involved skewering the Prime Minister's public persona, which he suggested often came across as overly rehearsed or insincere. For Gervais, who has built his career on celebrating authenticity and dismantling artifice, this was a damning indictment. He highlighted moments where Starmer seemed to falter in connecting with the public, whether during press conferences, parliamentary debates, or community engagements. These critiques cut to the core of what makes a leader effective, not just their policies, but their ability to inspire trust and relate to the people they serve. Gervais's critique extended to Starmer's relationship with his party. He highlighted the tensions that have occasionally flared between the Prime Minister and Labour's more left-wing factions, suggesting that these internal divisions have undermined the party's ability to present a unified front. Gervais's satirical observations underscored a broader truth about the challenges of leading a party that is ideologically diverse and often fractious. His commentary reflected a growing frustration among voters who expect their leaders to rise above party infighting and focus on governing effectively. In this regard, Gervais positioned Starmer as emblematic of a broader malaise within the political system, where ambition and strategic maneuvering often overshadow meaningful action. One of the more striking aspects of Gervais's critique was its resonance with both supporters and detractors of Starmer. While Gervais is primarily a comedian, his observations tapped into a shared sense of disillusionment that transcends political allegiances. Many viewers found themselves nodding along with his biting observations, even if they didn't fully agree with his conclusions. This speaks to the power of humor and satire as tools for highlighting uncomfortable truths. Gervais's takedown served not just as entertainment, but also as a catalyst for broader conversations about leadership, accountability, and the direction of the country. In dissecting Starmer's tenure, Gervais also shone a spotlight on the challenges of modern political leadership. The pressures faced by today's leaders are immense, with 24/7 news cycles, social media scrutiny, and the ever-present threat of political polarization. Gervais's critique highlighted how these dynamics can constrain leaders, forcing them to prioritize optics over substance. His commentary suggested that Starmer's cautious approach was, in part, a response to these pressures, a calculated effort to avoid missteps in a hypercritical environment. However, Gervais argued that this strategy had backfired, leading to perceptions of indecision and passivity. What made Gervais's takedown particularly impactful was the way it captured the zeitgeist of a nation grappling with uncertainty. His observations about Starmer's leadership, or lack thereof, resonated deeply with audiences who feel disenchanted with the current political landscape. Whether through his critiques of economic policy, social issues, or leadership style, Gervais tapped into a collective frustration that extends far beyond the specifics of Starmer's tenure. His commentary served as a mirror, reflecting the anxieties and aspirations of a populace that is yearning for change but uncertain of where to find it. Gervais's critique also raised questions about the role of comedians and cultural figures in shaping political discourse. While some dismissed his takedown as mere entertainment, others saw it as a valuable contribution to the public conversation. Comedy, after all, has a long history of serving as a form of social critique, challenging those in power and holding them accountable. In this context, Gervais's commentary on Starmer can be seen as part of a broader tradition of using humor to address serious issues. His ability to blend sharp wit with incisive analysis underscored the potential for comedy to provoke thought and inspire dialogue. At its core, Gervais's takedown of Starmer was a reminder of the importance of accountability in politics. By calling attention to perceived shortcomings in Starmer's leadership, Gervais challenged both the Prime Minister and the public to reflect on what effective governance looks like. His critique, while harsh, was ultimately rooted in a desire for better leadership that is bold, authentic, and attuned to the needs of the people. Whether or not one agrees with Gervais's assessment, his commentary served as a powerful reminder of the stakes involved in political decision-making and the need for leaders to rise to the occasion. The comedic takedown also opened up questions about what the public truly values in a leader. Gervais, with his unfiltered style, captured a sentiment that has been simmering beneath the surface, a longing for authenticity and courage in political leadership. For years, the public has watched leaders struggle to balance the demands of party politics, public opinion, and international pressures, often at the expense of bold action or clear principles. Gervais' critique reflected a yearning for leaders who are not only competent but also unafraid to take risks, stand by their convictions, and speak plainly to the electorate. Starmer's perceived failure to embody these qualities became a focal point of Gervais's critique, serving as a mirror to the larger frustrations of an electorate that feels increasingly alienated from the political class. A particularly impactful dimension of Gervais's critique was its examination of Starmer's ability, or inability, to communicate effectively. In an era where public perception is shaped as much by sound bites and viral moments as by substantive policy achievements, communication has become a cornerstone of modern leadership. Gervais, with his mastery of timing and delivery, highlighted the disconnect between Starmer's reserved demeanor and the public's demand for relatable, passionate leadership. This critique pointed to a deeper issue: the challenge of resonating with an audience that is constantly bombarded with information and entertainment. For Starmer, whose strength lies in his methodical approach to problem solving, This gap in communication style may have hindered his ability to galvanize public support or build momentum behind his policies. The broader cultural implications of Gervais's commentary are also worth examining. As a comedian who has built his career on challenging authority and questioning societal norms, Gervais occupies a unique space in public discourse. His critique of Starmer transcended the boundaries of comedy, resonating as a form of cultural commentary that spoke to the frustrations of a diverse audience. In this way, Gervais's takedown can be seen as a reflection of the growing intersection between entertainment and politics, a phenomenon that has only intensified in the digital age. The lines between satire and serious critique have blurred, allowing figures like Gervais to wield significant influence over public opinion. This influence is particularly potent in a media landscape that thrives on spectacle and controversy. Gervais's remarks about Starmer were not just a critique of one individual. They were a commentary on the broader shortcomings of political systems that often prioritize image over substance. By focusing on Starmer's perceived lack of authenticity and decisiveness, Gervais touched on a universal frustration with leaders who seem more concerned with managing optics than delivering tangible results. This critique resonates across political boundaries, capturing a shared sense of disillusionment with the state of modern governance. One of the more subtle yet powerful aspects of Gervais's critique was the way it drew attention to the emotional toll of political leadership. While much of his commentary focused on Starmer's public persona and policy failures, Gervais also alluded to the immense pressures faced by leaders in the spotlight. The relentless scrutiny, the expectation to perform flawlessly, and the weight of public opinion can all take a significant toll on a leader's ability to govern effectively. Gervais's humor, while biting, carried an undercurrent of empathy for the human side of political leadership, a recognition that even the most capable leaders are not immune to the challenges of their roles. This exploration of the human element in leadership extended to Gervais's critique of the political establishment as a whole. By focusing his satire on Starmer, Gervais implicitly raised questions about the broader culture of politics and governance. How do systemic issues, such as bureaucratic inertia, partisan gridlock, and the influence of special interests, limit the ability of leaders to enact meaningful change? Gervais's observations served as a reminder that while individual leaders bear responsibility for their actions, they are also products of a larger system that often prioritizes survival over progress. Another layer of Gervais's critique centered on the role of public engagement in shaping political outcomes. In an age where social media platforms serve as both a megaphone and a battlefield, the relationship between leaders and their constituents has become increasingly complex. Gervais's takedown of Starmer highlighted the challenges of navigating this dynamic, particularly for a leader whose reserved communication style may not lend itself to the demands of a hyper-connected, opinion-driven public sphere. This critique underscored the need for leaders to adapt to the changing landscape of public engagement, finding ways to connect with constituents in authentic and meaningful ways. Gervais's commentary also invited reflection on the role of humor and satire in holding power to account. While some may dismiss his remarks as mere entertainment, they served as a powerful reminder of the potential for comedy to provoke thought and inspire action. By using humor to highlight serious issues, Gervais tapped into a long tradition of satirical critique that has shaped political discourse for centuries. His ability to blend sharp wit with incisive analysis underscored the unique power of comedy to challenge authority and question the status quo. The implications of Gervais's critique extend far beyond Starmer's leadership. They speak to a broader cultural and political moment defined by uncertainty, polarization, and a longing for change. In this context, Gervais's takedown can be seen as part of a larger conversation about the future of leadership and governance in the UK. His observations raised fundamental questions about what it means to lead in a rapidly changing world, where the expectations placed on leaders are higher than ever, and the consequences of failure are felt acutely by the public. One of the more profound takeaways from Gervais's critique was its emphasis on the need for courage and leadership. In a political climate where caution often seems to outweigh conviction, Gervais's call for bold, decisive action resonated deeply. Whether addressing issues of economic inequality, social justice, or public health, Leaders must be willing to take risks and stand by their principles, even in the face of opposition. Gervais's critique of Starmer highlighted the dangers of playing it safe, a strategy that may avoid controversy in the short term, but ultimately fails to inspire trust or deliver meaningful change. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Ricky Gervais calling out Keir Starmer? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.